My mom has told me this story many times since I was old enough to understand. I have no recollection of the events because I was only 2 years old at the time. These events landed me the nickname, our creepy child, which I'm okay with. I love all things creepy. My nursery theme when my mom got pregnant was zoo animals, so my room had a lot of monkeys, giraffes, bears, etc., and everyone went crazy spoiling me with stuffed animals, toys, and even clothes that were zoo themed. I took a liking to all the stuffed animals and toys, and all animals in general. But my grandma bought me this little Fisher-Price baby learning toy that made jungle and zoo noises, sang the ABCs, and taught numbers. It had a few other different songs that taught various life lessons, and I was obsessed with this toy. I even tried taking it to bed with me, even though it was rock hard and not cuddly at all. She said of all the toys I had at the time, which was a lot, I favored this one, hands down. As nearly anyone knows, 2-year-olds don't have attention spans. They move on to the next thing within sometimes seconds. This toy, she said, I would sit down and play with for nearly an hour, mesmerized. As I stated before, I have no recollection of it, having just turned 2. About 2 days after I'd unwrapped the thing, my mom had put me in the playpen with it for 2 minutes while she made lunch, because I screamed my head off if she put me in the high chair while she did it. She said she just grabbed quick things that day like yogurt, string cheese, and crackers, because I did the best with snack-like meals. As she walked into the living room to grab me, she said I was staring intently at the toy with concern on my face. No, 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 I said. No what, sweetie? Is your toy not working? Mom asked. But she said when she reached down to try to push a button, I shoved her hand away and said, No, Mama, sternly. Well, that's not very nice. Can Mama see it? She asked. No, 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 I said. Thinking I was overtired, she grabbed me up and brought me to the kitchen to eat so she could lay me down for my afternoon nap. The whole time I was eating, I whined and kept saying no for no reason. It wasn't something I usually did yet at that age, at least. When it was time for my nap, she laid me down in my crib, sang me a song, and walked out. As she walked past the living room, she heard music coming from somewhere. Realizing it was coming from my playpen, she wandered over and saw the zoo toy lighting up. It was a song she hadn't heard it play in the last 2 days since opening it, and I had hit every button on the thing multiple times over. She said she already had the toy's song and speech patterns memorized. Plus, it was a jungle/zoo toy, and it was playing a Spanish lullaby. She switched it off to conserve battery and went about fixing herself lunch. While throwing a salad and quick sandwich together, she heard the toy laughing. Now, there were some of the songs or other commands that ended with laughing, but she had switched the toy completely off. She reluctantly headed to the living room, and there it was, lights flashing and one of the tunes playing. Now, at first, she was going to just throw the thing away, but she knew how much I was loving it and didn't have the heart. She explained it away as a malfunction or the batteries being low and needing replacement. Anything she could think of, not to admit the other alternative, that there was a spirit attached to this toy I loved so much. After my nap, Mom put me down on the floor to change my diaper, and I immediately spotted my beloved zoo toy. I couldn't squirm away from her faster, she said. I walked over to it the second I was free. I brought it over to her to turn on, and immediately started pushing buttons and dancing with the music. She couldn't help but notice that I was almost drawn to this thing, so she tested that theory by grabbing my push toy that I loved so much before this new toy came along. It lit up and played music and such while I pushed it. She said I showed zero interest in it anymore. Next, she tried giving me her car keys, just as a test, because I loved tossing them around and pushing the buttons on the remote that she had removed the batteries from, so I could play with them safely. But I pushed her hand away, not wanting to even entertain the idea of playing with the keys. That's when she grew even more suspicious of the toy. Doing her best to push any negative thoughts about the toy out of her mind, she went about her day. I was eventually distracted by something else, which made her happy. However, later that evening, as she was preparing dinner, she heard me talking gibberish to the toy. At first, she just shook her head and laughed, because when babies spoke their gibberish language, it always sounded funny. But then, she heard a voice coming from the toy, speaking and not singing. It said my name, Samantha, loud and clear. She said she was paralyzed with fear for a few seconds, but then her motherly instincts kicked in. She ran to the living room, swooped me up, and took me over to my aunt's house, while she came back home and took the toy straight to the dump. She came home with a new toy that didn't talk or play music. With the toy out of the house, she immediately noticed I was back to my old self, a normal 2-year-old, bouncing back and forth between toys and trying to get into things I shouldn't. The stories about children always have an extra creep factor. I can't imagine how you feel knowing you were the one involved. Thank you for sharing your story. If you have a paranormal story to share, email it to the address in the description below. Please like the video and subscribe if you haven't. And with that, I'll see you tomorrow, friends.